Without creation, there is no salvation. Welcome, gospel revolutionaries around this entire world. We appreciate you dropping in here on a Tuesday night. Here I am in the office, the dining room, the research room. Ethan just started college. It's also now a study room for the University of Arizona right here. We've got the University of Arizona right here. There's no telling what this room might become before everything is finished. Speaking of finished, I did make a pretty brazen statement, and I just want this cleared up and tucked away where it should have been for the last 2,000 years, and that is that without the creation, there is no such thing as salvation. Without the process of Genesis, there is no salvation. And I realize that's why many of our friends have just eradicated the meaning of salvation, because evidently there is a lack of understanding about that process. But we want you to understand that. I want to understand that. So we've been doing a lot of research. You might call this kind of a preparatory school for a preparatory session for our Calgary Conference, where we're going to be going into all things creation and Genesis. It's going to get wild around here. Only we could say we're going to be going through Genesis, and it's going to get wild around here, right? So as we go into this, there's some things that are, I noticed as I was getting ready for this tonight. There is about the foundation of the world. The word foundation is interchangeable with the word creation of the world. And there are these terms that describe it. Before the foundation of the world, there is the term just the foundation of the world. And then there's the term after the foundation of the world. And then Jesus spoke about the completion of that foundation. Yeah, it's all laid out. It's all very beautiful. Please don't miss the process, because if you miss the process of creation, you will never be able to know the new creation. It says new creation, therefore there is a creation before that this is to be compared to. And if you're going to compare it, you've got to understand it. You can't be dismissive of it. You can't set it aside. You can't come up with your own story. You know, that would be like somebody getting up and saying they were going to give their testimony and then give somebody else's testimony. This is God's testimony, my friends. And when we stand up, you don't have a right to say that you are giving God's testimony and give your own testimony. Our testimony does not supersede the testimony of God. So one of the verses that we're all very familiar with is Hebrews chapter 10, verse 1. Hebrews chapter 1, verse 10. And thou, Lord, in the beginning hast laid the foundation of the earth. So this is talking about creation. This is talking about the point of creation and how this all started. You're going to see as we go through this that there's also before the foundation, and then the things that happened after the foundation. And then, as we said, Jesus takes that all away, that everything happened after the foundation to lead up to the completion of that. Why in the world would someone lay a foundation if they weren't going to finish it, right? So, and the earth and are all the works of thy hands. So the heavens and the earth are all, according to Hebrews 1:10, they are the works of God's hands. And with that in mind, let's go into what Jesus had to say about some of this. It actually is quite powerful. We might go over it a little bit tonight. I'm not real sure. So we have this placement of the foundation of the world. And Hebrews places it at the creation of the earth. And then Matthew chapter 13, verse 35, Jesus said that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables, and I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. Ooh, wow. You talk about a good trailer for a movie. It's like, this is what we're about to tell you about. You get the point of the origins of the story. You even get to hear about before they ever started the foundation of the world. And because there was a relationship between God and Christ even before the foundation of the world. You're going to learn a little bit about that tonight also. Oh my goodness, aren't you glad you don't have to pay for this class? After all, the University of Arizona is working right here out of this room. All right, so Jesus made reference to this. And he said that according to the prophets, now we are going to emphasize that again and again and again and again and again. Well, every time it says it. How about that? That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophets, that Jesus said he was going to be speaking in parables. Now, this is actually, Jesus was quoting from the scriptures, and he was quoting from the book of Psalms. And from the book of Psalms, chapter 78, he said, give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. And this is where Jesus was quoting directly. I will open my mouth in parable. I will utter dark sayings. And here he's making it very clear. And the way that this gets translated is, I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world. And he says, and that is actually verse 3. This shows up all in one verse. But here in verse 3, then it says, which we have heard and known of our fathers have told us. So even Jesus was making reference to the prophets, and that the prophets foretold that he would speak in parables. How could they know something so intricately like that about his life and then just bug off some way? We do not embrace that. Why? Because Jesus never said they bugged off someplace. Jesus never said Moses got it wrong. Jesus never said the prophets got it wrong. Paul never said they got it wrong. Apollos never said they got it wrong. Peter, James, and John even didn't say they got it wrong. In fact, they all said they got it exactly right. And the only reason that you can't embrace what Jesus did is because you can't embrace what Moses said. And verse 4 says, we will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done. So this was supposed to continue on. Jesus said what the prophet said was supposed to continue on to the generations to come. You're one of those generations. So why jump ship at this point? He says, for he established a testimony in Jacob. This is so powerful. If you're listening to Ethan's videos, and I really encourage you about that, he's going to tell you a whole lot more about the testimony of Jacob, or the testimony that God himself established in Jacob, and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children which shall be born, who shall arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. You see, it's vitally important to know what the law and the Psalms and the prophets have to say, because in them was a built-in hope. You see, now that hope has been realized according to Paul. He said, why do you keep hoping for something that you already have? That is very clear. But if you don't know what was hoped for, you will never know what you got. So it's vitally important that we understand this and this issue about creation. It just so happens that all of science is now beginning to find out that the basic principles of Genesis is true. Do you know that the vast majority of scientists have now switched from saying that the Grand Canyon took millions of years to form, to now that geologists, the majority of them now, are admitting that this was a very fast geological event because it just couldn't have taken place any other way. Geology itself proves it was a fast event, not one that took place over millions of years. But you see, when you have people out digging around and they're trying to have a confirmation bias about creation, and people say, well, I believe it's in science, not creation. You don't know what you're saying when you say that, because creation and science are the same thing. In fact, everything that we have anything to do with is reflective of creation in the way things are today. So with this powerful creation that took place, and then that's our verses in Matthew. Let's see, where am I? We are in Luke chapter 14, verse 28. For which of you, intending to build a tower, sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he hath sufficient to finish it? Lest haply, after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Jesus is speaking a parable here. And he is speaking this parable about the very creation, about these three phases that I've told you about. And he also, we're going to look at where he speaks about his relationship with the Father before the foundation of the world. But here we have Jesus making it very clear in this parable. This is a parable, and he's making it very clear about this term foundation. And it's used over and over throughout the New Testament about this foundation of the world, the creation of the world. And then, but you see, the thing that Jesus is letting us know, that the foundation means it was not complete. When he created Adam and Eve, they were a part of the foundation of the world. They themselves were not complete. They were good. The creation was good, but it was not complete. Such power in understanding the process. The process is where the power always is. It doesn't make any difference if you're looking at Hoover Dam or if you're looking at a nuclear power plant. It doesn't make any difference if you're looking at a combustion engine. It just doesn't make any difference. If it has anything to do with power, it has to address the process in which that power is made manifest. Without creation, there is no salvation. What's between creation and salvation? A process. An incredible process that is being dismissed by many around the whole world. And we are not going to jump on that bandwagon. That is for sure. So the thing that we're not going to have to stand back and say is that God laid a foundation, but he wasn't able to finish it, because Jesus takes care of that in his own words later on, as you know. In John chapter 17, verse 24, 25, and 26, Jesus said, Father, I will that they also, whom thou hast given me, be with me where I am, that they may behold my glory, which thou gavest me from the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, the world hath not known thee, but I have known thee, and these have known that thou hast sent me. And I have declared unto them thy name, and will declare it, that the love wherewith thou hast loved me will be in them, and I in them. You know, and I've quoted this verse for many years to prove that God and us are one, even as Christ is one. But I missed it. Oh my goodness. There's always something to be missed, right? Do you know the other thing that is in every human being? Get this. This is worth watching the whole video for. Not only am I going to tell you that the righteousness of God is everyone, and Christ dwells in us all, and that we are the manifestation of Christ, God in the earth. But I'm also ready to declare unto you that the love of God abides in every human born on this earth. You know, that gives me a lot of encouragement, because I know that the love of God has to be educated out. The love of God has to be beaten out. The love of God has to be abused. In fact, you can't get it out. You can never get out. That's the same as no matter what happens to you in your life, you can't get Christ out, and you can't get the love of God out. And we depend on that here at the Gospel Revolution, to know that Christ lives in every human, and that in every human also has been deposited in them the love of God is there. It is such an amazing thing. We need to elevate our view of the human race. I know all the tragedies that there is around the world, but we still have to find a common denominator that shows us where to start from, that we are indeed one. There's a whole lot of things that can happen to people that transform them into what they have become, instead of what God made us all to be. Ephesians chapter 1, verse 4 says, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and without blame before him in love. So this big picture is huge. Not only was God and Christ sharing the love of God, but we also were in Christ before the foundation. We were also chosen in him before the foundation of the world. We were not in him, but we were chosen in him before the foundation of the world. Now, that choosing had to have a process to be finished, and that choosing went through the creation of mankind. And it also went through this conflicting relationship between God and man. It also went through the flood of Noah, which there's so much creation in there, and this point at which the acceleration of evolution began to take place after they came off of that ark. We've got so much to share with you. It all makes so much sense, and it is all it's all scientific, and it is all scriptural, all at the same time. And so then we find out here in Ephesians that according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world. So look at this. The whole plan was laid out in the love of God that was before the foundation of the world, between Christ and God. And then the process begins. The laying of the foundation. Part of the laying of the foundation was the creation of Adam. Adam is a part of the foundation of the world. Adam is not a part of the completion of the world. In fact, this is a part of creation that, according to Paul, that this Adamic nature and this Adamic identity was completely destroyed at the cross. And now your only identity, or anybody else's around this world, is that you are hopelessly righteous.